Okay, so I'd like to start by asking you what the future of TV operations means to your organisation. So perhaps to start with you, Massimo, what does it mean for Sky Italia? Where are you focusing?
First of all, good morning to all. Then the point is, for us, I'm fully agree with your observation, because today the needs that we have is to simplify, first of all, our workflow, to meet the business need and at the same time to reduce the cost. Simplify because unfortunately, I don't know if every broadcast, but all brokers that I know are starting to move in a hybrid world, and now they are looking for the growth in the IP world. But unfortunately, the ecosystem was built as a stratification starting from the broadcast, and it's not easy now to move in a flexible environment in one click. So it's a long process, but unfortunately at the same time, as you mentioned, the perception of the customer is that you are slow if you are not start to invest in this big transformation. So our point now is to optimize for example, the content management, because to reduce the time to be available the content also on the VOD. Because, for example, on the football matches or everything highlights or the football match, everything that is relating to the live content that we have, because we have a lot of live production, not only on sport, also in the general entertainment. And the big challenge today is to offer the possibility to have also for that type of show, in some cases just highlights, some other case they restart the TV immediately, not wait a few hours after the end of the event. So simplify that, but at the same time to not improve the cost to do it. So scale, for that reason, the main project that we have today is to find the right mix of legacy, but the scalable on the cloud. So use the current infrastructure to work and to do everything that we can do without generate extra cost in-house, and then scale all things. Step by step, we have virtualized everything to move on the cloud and use the cloud as an extension of our company. That is the steps that we are looking today.
So certainly that challenge of maintaining and evolving or moving beyond your legacy systems, that came
the point because unfortunately we can have the big jump stop completely. We started a few years ago the migration to full IP ecosystem in our broadcast domain is ongoing. A big part of that is just in full IP, so it's not so complex to extend the activity over the cloud if we need some last minute needs from our business. But again, the point is that we are not in a situation where we have the capability to move all on the cloud today. Probably, I don't know if we have the real this necessity, because also the cost that we have is not sustainable, not to thinking to move exactly all things that we have on the cloud. So it's a sort of step-by-step evolution. It's a transformation that we start again a few years ago, and is ongoing. But for sure, the point is today that the cost is a key element. No, everything that we have to touch has to touch in according to the sustainable of the business. Because as you mentioned before, the cost of rights are increased, but at the end of the story, the big revenue that we have from the customer is coming from our core business, that is satellite. So we can we have to touch everything to not destroy completely our core business to improve the new things. So we have in a situation where it's physically impossible to move all our investment over new delivery, but we are doing is a long-term project and process that we are changing. But this is really important. We have the other step that we have in parallel to reduce the cost, where we are moving in this cloud environment, also on the network delivery. The point is to try through the big data and artificial intelligence to create autonomous ecosystems, not simply to move on the cloud, adding let me say orchestrator, but to have a autonomous orchestrator that can reconfigure in according to the behavior and problems that happens. Because otherwise we have to if we are thinking to move again in a new world, maintaining the old, and means in some case have a double function for some specific function of the company, and this at the technical level is impossible to improve, to grow with type of cost. So the idea is we are working with several companies to find a sort of autonomous virtual ecosystem.
I think there's lots of points to pick up there later. One in particular I'd like to put to you, Sten, is around that challenge of moving from your legacy or established platforms. And for TDC, this presents a particularly interesting question because you have so many of them. You have various forms of TV platform.
Yes, we have a situation which, depending on how you count, we have somewhere between 4.5 and 6 platforms. We do distribution on IP, coax, wireless, all of the above. And the main theme for us is, from an operational perspective, to move towards a simplification of this plethora of platforms. And it's not because the platforms are sort of crash and burn and end of life and that sort of thing, but it's more about, for us, it's the, misusing the word agility again, it is the ability to move with the market and actually do things. For example, we changed, last year we rebranded all our consumer offerings under the UC brand, and we had to rebrand everything with the UC colors, just the colors and the font. And that process took a long time, much longer than it should have taken, simply because we had so many different, bootloaders had to be updated on old QAM-based set-top box and that sort of thing. As a contrast, we earlier this year we had a failure of some of our key systems early on. We produced a compensation package for our viewers, which was essentially free VOD films for up to almost a month. And we managed to build that offering as a package in 3 days because we did it on the most agile platform we had and then let people use that platform instead. So it proved to us that we could actually do something in a much faster way if we sort of kept ourselves to a simple operational model. The plus side is that we also experienced the highest take on our on-demand services ever because of this. And actually that take, of course, came down from the peak after the 3 months expired, but we still have a higher level now of use of the on-demand services. So it actually helped us improve our business.
So Alejandro, I believe the move to this more agile operational model is really important for KPN as well. Could you say a few words about what you're doing there?
Yeah, sure. I recognize a lot of what Sten is saying. So for us, it's also very important to react faster to market changes. And so in the past, we have done a lot. We have moved a lot of functionality from the set-top box to the cloud. So for instance, UI changes now we are moving now more from a native-based to HTML-based on the set-top box to be able to faster adapt user interface. Also regarding functionality as recordings, post-live TV, we have shifted that everything to the cloud to keep the box as simple as possible. But yet, I think we are still far from really an agile way of working. Traditionally we see that when we need to implement something on our platform, we have to enter this whole process of define the requirements, then we go in the pipeline of implementing that, after 9 or 12 months and something is rolling out. And if we are lucky, it's matching the requirements that were expected, because in the meantime, the stakeholders cannot inspect what's being developed. And maybe 9 or 12 months later, then the market requirements have totally changed. So what we have developed is not fully valid anymore. So we want to reduce this long period to a shorter weeks where we can very easily and quickly add value to our customers, and very quickly also get feedback if what we have done is actually what the market is demanding or not, and then very quickly also adapt and continue that.
So what are you seeing across your customer base, Simon, as NAGRA is a global vendor to many service providers around the world?
Yeah, I mean, here in Europe, we provide either content protection or user experience solutions, more end-to-end solutions, to a range of operators. I mean, it goes from Liberty Global to Telefonica to Altis Group, Canal Plus, Mediaset, so large range of companies plus some smaller ones. So what we're getting from the market, from these players, is definitely a need to do faster, with consolidation, a little bit of focus on cost, and to do better, and to have better solutions and services for consumers. So a lot of it is about simplifying, is about becoming definitely more agile, and leveraging the cloud and the capabilities that it brings. This is happening relatively step by step, because for many of our big customers, they have built their position through acquisitions. So they have different systems, different platforms, a lot of legacy, but definitely a need to have best-of-breed partners to take it to the next stage very quickly, and to be able to evolve their solutions and keep up with mostly the OTT service providers are putting a lot of pressure on the industry as a whole. I think it's not a surprise to anyone here, but definitely justifying a lot of the new investments, and our opinion is that it has to go faster.
So, Paul, AWS has been mentioned a number of times, unsurprisingly. I mean, what are you seeing that's really at the forefront of this operations revolution?
There's a couple of things. Yesterday we had a presentation from Jonas from Viaplay, and he said that he does a software update to his consumers every 6 hours. You can't do that with a set-top box with hardware installed in it. But with the cloud and software everywhere, software is eating the world, it allows you to have that route to the consumer, which is pretty instant. So we're seeing the cloud being used in all aspects of the media industry. So we have consumers producing content who are uploading dailies and rushes to the cloud. Then editors and contributors across the world can review those clips and feedback to the people making the TV program. We're seeing people launching playout channels in the cloud. We're seeing people archiving content in the cloud because the storage is so vast and relatively cheap and low risk and secure. And I guess the sweet spot is video on demand, so VOD. Having that VOD content in the cloud so close to the CDN makes a lot of sense. The cloud and CDNs are kind of best friends, they're good bedfellows. So there's lots of areas where we're seeing cloud and new ways of working pick up, and there's just lots of advantages.
So I'd just like to pick up on that first example you mentioned about being able to produce or release an update every 6 hours. And it sort of brings to mind, I think, the old management consultancy phrase, there's a difference between being efficient and being effective. And with the survey we ran on service provider agility, when we asked what was the number one challenge, it was knowing where to focus, where to put that effort of DevOps, essentially knowing where to begin. So my question is, how do you measure success? How do you understand that what you're doing actually is having an impact? What are the KPIs? Where do you look to understand that? That's an open question, a difficult one, I appreciate, so I'd be very grateful for volunteers to take it up.
Yeah, I think the final KPI is NPS, so the Net Promoter Score. So we are doing this for our customers. And if you are looking at the customers, they are more promoting your service and they are more happy with your service. I think that's the final KPI which is monitoring the success of your evolution to a more agile way of working.
But in addition, I'd say we also have a tendency to look a lot of call rates, or lack of, at best, call rates, to see if we can, if there are problems and we are slow in fixing them, then the calls will keep coming, and they cost money in many ways. So we also, in addition to that, use counting call rates, of course, to see. But then we monitor, pure technical things like we have OTT services as well, and we monitor therefore throughput, and we're through our CDN and that sort of thing. So it's a mixture of these things.
We have a NPS, the standard KPI then to understand. But we have a big debate in Italy, and my personal opinion that is okay. This agility is a great things, but is it really true or not? Because when you have too agile, too much faster, we are ready in terms of let me say, company like us, that coming from a different history, to manage this faster change to the customer, or we generate more confusion. So that is the question that I have, because if you can change every 6 hours something, yes, but which change do you have in mind every 6 hours? So the general thing is if we improve faster the change, my personal opinion, we generate entropy, in the whole ecosystem, because business require everything that they have in mind every day. That is difficult. So my point in general is a great thing. There is because we can decide also the last minutes. Let me say, because we have the capability to follow the customer needs. But the problem is we are ready. We have the mindset to be so fast or not, because I'm Italian, so I know very well the cars. So not all also have the driver license can drive the Ferrari. So someone can drive the Ferrari. So not that means that is always can connect to Amazon, can be like Amazon, can be like Netflix. Right. Because Netflix is probably the driver is different than the driver. So the point is the mindset is a little bit different. My point is fantastic. We are now thinking it to reduce a lot the cost, maintaining the quality. But I appreciate a lot the UView concept that we have not to lose the concept, the mindset of the forecast. Otherwise, we have the risk to follow. And then the story, the thinking that, okay, it's a fantastic tools, is a boomerang, because the cost increase too much, because you are not forecast, and you ask also cloud service the last minutes, CDN last minutes, and then you have created a disaster also to the customers. So this is the opinion that I have after to see a lot of activity.
I think that's a very good point, because if you looked at the likes of Netflix and YouTube, often they're trying to create a new form of user experience or TV, and if you looked at how the Netflix or YouTube experience had evolved, had a traditional provider who's trying to maintain and a subscriber base grow up, who might not be so positive because they're looking to become or stay the main provider rather than create some new niche. And I was interested, Sten, because you mentioned a practical example where that agility, that ability to react faster and release quicker has actually had results. I was wondering if there are any more examples like that VOD promotion, for example.
Well, for us, there was a positive effect, but the agility also comes into the effect when large players like Google suddenly updates Chromecast, which means suddenly our casting ability stops working. And that means we were able to do something about it in the recent weeks. If we were still stuck with the older 3 months release period, we would have customers going, what's happening, for 3 months before we could do something. So that is a small example, but I think the agility bit on the I don't think we do 6-hour releases. We boast about doing them every 2 days, but we don't release new features every 2 days. But we can react within that time frame. I think that's where the agility comes from, a short time frame thing.
And this is what the Viaplay guy was saying. He says they can do a 6-hour release, then if something's wrong, they can pull it back.
Exactly.
And that's what they like, that agility there. So it's not necessarily about the rapidity of doing the release, it's about the ability to fix a problem if they make one.
Yeah.
It's very much a corporate mindset. I think it was mentioned in one of the presentations by Orange earlier today. It's really thinking ahead of the game and being able to try, step back and iterate very quickly. And from our side as a vendor, we moved to Agile, all the product engineering teams to Agile 3 years ago, now starting to see these benefits. And we're actually ahead of the curve in face of some of our customers. So we produce software faster than they are able to deploy it at the moment. But we know how to keep doing this because at some point we will work in sync and we'll be on shorter cycles. And that flexibility and agility is absolutely necessary.
And interesting enough is there's a lot of debate going on about whether outsourcing or we've had a lot of discussions in TDC in the past couple of months on which way to go forward. Should we do a one-stop, I think there's a topic on software as a service or platform as a service, or should we keep development in-house still? And currently we very much agree with Owen's position that the best of breed is currently looking to be the way forward, because it allows us to be agile internally in the company. It's great when our vendor says, some of your, the other vendors says, oh, we're super agile and DevOps and it's all through. That's great, you are, but we may not be, this allows us also to control where we're going and also be indecisive, because heaven knows we're not sort of always on the ball. Where do we focus the effort? We're a little bit everywhere.
The other thing is that some technologies and services will not necessarily have to evolve at the same rate, or they have some constraints. And typically, if we look at the security stacks on our side, it goes down deep to the box and the chipset, so that doesn't change overnight easily. On the other end, on the user experience side, we're moving to a model where we can bring changes as required and test A/B testing on a subset of an operator like customer base to be able to really tune things. Especially, we talked about metadata, we talked about a number of things that require improvements and will be different by device type, and you need to fix it for one given class of devices and not for the rest of the platform and so on. So that sort of multi-layer flexibility is very, very important.
Yeah, I think what you mentioned about A/B testing is a really important aspect of the agility. So you don't have to wait like 9 months, 12 months, then roll out some product, get feedback. Oh, it's not meeting the market needs, so we have to go again in a 9 months development process. With an agile approach, you can very quickly deploy to different groups of customers and test different market propositions, see which one is working better, and then continue with that, or if not, adapt very quickly and then roll out a new proposition again. So it's really gives you the flexibility to adapt quickly to market needs and deploy whatever you want in a very, very short term.
Yeah, it's quite interesting on this point of modularity and best of breed. And we conducted a survey for a client, and they had the usual end-to-end proposition, but they were looking to modularize certain pieces, and they wanted to understand what they could put in different packages and so forth. And there were pretty surprising results in things that they had wanted or perhaps hoped would be part of the managed service were things that absolutely companies wanted to keep in-house, because although it might be, say, the most fragmented or complex, they needed multi-vendor capability, or they saw it as a source of competitive differentiation.
I'm seeing a lot of people I talk to bringing development, bringing services back in-house nearly everywhere I go. So where 5, 10, 15 years ago you would outsource everything to a service provider, things are coming back into smaller teams. And I think the reason is the barrier to entry, which is enabled with the cloud, is a lot lower. The change between OPEX and CAPEX plays to that too. So if you want to start a project to do some tests, to trial something, you don't have to go out and buy $1 million worth of equipment, wait 3 months to have it stacked, installed and wired. You can spin something up in an afternoon, try it. If it doesn't work, shut it down, and you've wasted tens of dollars, not tens of thousands or millions of dollars. So I'm seeing development coming back in-house a lot more. Not for everything, but I get the sense of excitement and innovation now, which I didn't see before.
Well, yeah, it's clearly been a huge driver there. I was very interested in Murray's comments, which you don't often hear. The cloud's not perfect. And my question was to service providers. I mean, although this is a huge enabler for you, what are those issues that are bugging you, the ones that you'd fix or the improvements you'd like to see?
Again, for me, doesn't exist the solution that is 100 on the cloud and 100 in-house, because it's physically is impossible not to think in that it's black or white. Okay, this is because in my experience it doesn't exist a final decision for everything. So the point is, we are again extend to the cloud some things. The cloud can offer several things. Also virtualization, everything can offer some specific use case, and is a complete and can support the high quality that we have in mind in terms of services. Not all, for sure not all. Is not ready to support 100% of our approach to the TV that we have in mind, because for several reasons. Because to transfer content to the cloud is in any case an issue, because it costs money. So is an element of, in particular for our country. So just as a basic point between the in-house and the cloud, there is some bottleneck. There is some other issue, probably yes, that we can discover step by step. The point is, the big challenge today is to find the right compromise between the different technology available. Unfortunately, we don't have in the ultimate system that all is possible to do in everything and every part, but to compromise with all to maintain a sustainable business. Because again, we are using a lot, we are transferring a lot of things on the cloud, but we are using mainly cloud as a computational power. We don't have a huge number of active service, let me say, intelligence service on the cloud till now. We are moving a lot of things because we consider useful, and the P&L is perfect respect the forecast, and we reduce the operational cost of X%, and the business was happy because it can reinvest the money in content, but it's not true if we have completely decide to move, for example, we have to test a lot our play out completely on the cloud, no? Because this is sustainable in terms of ecosystem. It's feasible in terms of as a technical tool, but is not sustainable for the business. So there is a different, or the compromise to be sustainable means reduce the quality today. So there is a gray area where we are working in these years, probably for the next 5 years, and probably step by step we try to let me say, remove weight on the infrastructure and move in some more light software-based solution, but I don't know if all on the cloud or not.
Perhaps in addition to that, I'd like to add that for us, we do a lot of use cloud and pay quite a good deal of money to AWS. But there is also a discussion going on internally in the company whether it's not safe enough to use cloud, but if it's sort of carrier grade enough to use the cloud for some of our services. And it was made clear by the problem we had earlier that I discussed. We actually had a complete blackout on all TV channels for several hours, and this was New Year's Eve. Anyway, the problem really was rectified within a few hours because all the technology was in-house in our own organization, on our premises. It meant that we could physically go out. We had to physically go out and do something, but it was in total control of TDC. Whereas, not that I distrust the capabilities of AWS or anything like that, it is still out there somewhere. So the live TV channels we still keep and do maintain, but might as well apply to VOD stuff or streaming or anything like that. So there's still, for us as a TV operator, there's still the dilemma of, it would be nice to have everything in the cloud, have no computers in the basement, but right now we're not quite sure whether we're ready for that yet.
Okay, I'd like to open up the panel to questions from the floor. Do we have any questions? We've got a couple of roaming mics. Okay, we don't seem to have any at the moment, which seems a missed opportunity given the strength of the panel. I guess I'd like to move on to one topic, especially because it was on the agenda, which is the move to full ABR, particularly harnessing multicast ABR. And I know this is something KPN is looking at in regards to what you're doing. Of course, you have an OTT offer and you have an IPTV offer. I mean, what do you see as the pros and cons of moving towards that?
Yeah, so we are, as you say, we are doing ABR already for our multi-screen proposition. And we see that as the way forward also to our own on-demand services. For the set-top box, we are now using linear multicast, which is basically a great solution to distribute linear content to our whole population of set-top boxes. We are also looking at multicast ABR, but what I see is that there is also a lot of watching behavior is also moving to on-demand. So what I wonder myself is if the need for multicast ABR will come too late, and at that point the on-demand consumption is so big that it's not justifying going for linear to multicast ABR anymore, and just continue relying on our traditional multicast for the set-top boxes, and all other devices just go to ABR on demand, and that's it. Not using any multicast ABR anymore. So.
Okay. Well, I've been given the sign that we're slightly low on time, so I'd just like to wrap up with one question, if you could each answer it very, very briefly. Say we were to reconvene this panel next year, what's the big topic we're going to be talking about in terms of operations? Perhaps start with you, Simon.
I think we're at probably year 3 of a 10-year transformation. And I think the next thing is coming is probably around the microservices that are going to emerge more and more next year.
Virtual reality excites me, and lots more AI, I think.
Absolutely. Particularly interesting Massimo's point about a more intelligent network or operations. So Alejandro.
Yeah, I agree with Simon. So I think microservices, we have been talking a lot about the cloud. If we put the monolith in the cloud, we are not solving anything. So we have to go to a more modular microservice-based approach in order to achieve this flexibility. And another important topic is also the human side. So it's not just going to a more modular platform, but how are the teams going to react to that? How are you organizing your company to work more on an agile way with DevOps teams, and the interaction between these teams? How is that going to help you innovate faster on your platform?
Absolutely. Sten?
I think for us, I'm guessing that it will probably be how we can react to the new market players in the form of Amazon, who's now suddenly doing live TV streaming, which reduces, first of all, it's a competitor, of course, but also is we have to be able to follow footstep with the very, very agile companies that these OTT companies are. How can we speed? How can we react fast enough?
Massimo, the final word.
Yeah, for me it was for sure the artificial intelligence and the big data, because I don't know if with the implementation of the both things we have to rethinking also on the product and marketing approach. No? Because if we have so intelligent, probably we don't need to test on the customer directly. No, we can prevent the needs of them.
Absolutely. So. I think we've run out of time. I can say from the calls we had before the panel that there's lots more to discuss. So I'd very much advise you to grab these guys and discuss the topics in full. But in the meantime, if you could put your hands together and thank them for their great contributions.